The first Saturday of every month, these amazing people and I are going to be slowly working through. We are 6% through the first volume of Kara-Tur, the Eastern Realms. This is the AD&D Asian campaign setting, and we'll be providing our critical analysis based on the depiction of Asian cultures and people, based on our own experiences in the industry and as Asians. Now, our goal with this one, and we joke about drawing concentric rings and conjuring flame, but our goal with this is always to create conversation, introduce new perspectives, because we all have different perspectives as Asians, and create spaces for Asian voices through our work and our analysis. Now, we are approaching this based on 4 fundamental issues that we've found in pretty much all Orientalist work in the tabletop gaming world. And that's that, world building is based on harmful real world stereotypes. And these stereotypes, blend cultures, ethnic groups, and even time periods. We have the problem that Asians are depicted as solely violent or savage. And if they're not violent and savage, they're seen as uncivilized and in need of saving. Right? Those two kind of go together. And then lastly, we kind of saw hints of it when we were talking about Kwai and his evil consort, but that Asians are objects of fetishization. So that's what we're kind of approaching here. We're approaching this, from this lens, and we're talking about an AD&D product, a product that has been out of print, in physical print, for a very long time. But this world is still referenced in the 5th edition D&D world, in the iteration of the Forgotten Realms that is used in 5th edition D&D. Shaolin, Kozakura, Wa, and all of Kara-Tur are all mentioned in 5th edition books. And the people from Kara-Tur and the people of Shaolin are actually mentioned in the Player's Handbook. So what we're talking about here is, super important and very, very relevant. So before we start, does anybody have any announcements, anything that you want to share? Will we do this at the beginning and at the end? Anything. I know Unbreakable, just you're closed for submissions, but people could still buy Unbreakable Volume 1. Mm-hmm. Makenzie?
Oh, yeah. I'm the lead writer for The Islands of Sina Una, which is an upcoming 5e campaign setting based around pre-colonial Filipino mythology. And as of recording this, it releases on Monday, October 5th, so you still have a little bit of time to pre-order the PDF over on thedeckofmany.com. I'm super excited. We've been working on this, or the team's been working on this since for 2 years. I've been working on it since January. It is amazing. It is so in-depth, and God bless our team of researchers for the amount of work they have put into making sure that we get this right.
That's awesome.
It's so good, and I'm so excited for people to look at it, because I've seen it, and I might be a little biased, but I think it's really good.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay to be biased. Talk yourself up. I just realized that I might have to. Oh no, my audio's good. Okay. Emma, do you have anything? I know you're working on a new thing, or a continued project. I just found out that.
Yeah, just ongoing cultural consultancy, sensitivity reading. And I never know how much I'm allowed to talk about, so I'll just leave it at that.
What Emma's saying is hire Emma to do cultural consulting. Michelle, do you have anything going on that you want to share?
Gosh, not too much going on right now. Just continuing working on the lore glyphs, and there's a lot of stuff always happening in the magic community, so continuing to kind of weigh in and talk about stuff there. So yeah, continuing to channel my inner possum, which is just my inner trash cat screaming trash cat, basically.
I saw the mug you made. It's amazing.
Thank you. I love that mug so much. I've had people be like, hey, how much is it? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is me in a mug, and I'm never letting this go.
I've never heard somebody call a possum a trash cat. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, it's pretty perfect.
That's
It's
fantastic.
described well.
Yeah, because I know like
I've-
Trash Pandas, but never heard of Trash Cat. Damn.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Oh,
Now,
so good.
we have one other thing. You could pre-order this if you are. I mean, you can pre-order this anywhere, but you can buy this in bookstores in Europe later this month, and it's the D&D Annual 2021. This is an officially licensed D&D product. It's got all of your favorites. It's actually got a fantastic section on just like making a character, and it walks you through the character sheet and everything. I think it's better than the way they do it in the Player's Handbook, honestly. Because they walk you through like what alignment means, it's your moral compass, and what the different things are, and all your attacks. It's a 20-step process, which is pretty cool. It has, it features all sorts of neat shows. You might know, like, I guess you might know Critical Role. They're pretty popular, right? It's got Acquisitions Incorporated. But what's really neat is that it's got Asians Represent. It's got Dungeons and Asians, our actual play, on page 72, right above Dragon Talk, and next to Acquisitions Incorporated, which are both like fantastic shows that D&D produces. So yeah, you could order this at amazon.co.uk. It's like £8. Sorry, £10, but it might be on sale on Amazon right now. But yeah, that comes out on October 29th.
My American brain was like, it weighs 8 pounds?
They got the good cardstock.
It was
It's
like,
good
yeah!
cardstock.
It's just
That's
like it's
a good paper.
That book is dense.
It's super thin, but it's real dense. The metallic inlay, that's actually tungsten, so that's why it's really dense.
So what you're saying is we could use it in like as a weapon in like a murder mystery
I
novel.
mean, this
Yeah.
in full D&D fashion, this is categorized as an improvised martial melee weapon. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's also throwable, like in the Hitman games. Have you ever played the Hitman games where you throw the briefcase?
Yep. Yeah, I
The
have.
homing
That's great.
briefcase? That's what this book is.
Well, actually, I actually recently got the Mage 20th anniversary edition, and that's like 700 pages. The book is literally this thick.
Yeah.
And that is
It's
like
like
your weapon.
There are like the Zweihander core rulebook is also just like
Oh my
Super-
god,
Yeah.
I have that. I have
Yeah.
this
Oh,
chomper.
I have it downstairs.
Ah!
yeah.
Yeah, me
show,
too.
Show,
I
show
have
the,
it.
show the spine, Makenzie. Show the spine. Look at
Oh my god, it's so
Yeah.
thick. I remember getting this in the mail and going, "What the heck did I? What is this?"
So-
Because it was just a mysterious box just dunked onto my doorstep, and I'm like,
So Dan Fox sent me 4 copies of that book, and I didn't
man.
know how. This was like years ago, and I didn't know how big it was. I was expecting like a D&D sized book, and he sent it to me, and I got this big ass box in the mail, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I went to pick it up, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I carried it into my condo, and I opened it up. I was like, "This book's gigantic."
"It's so big."
It's
It
good
is.
value.
It's
It's good value.
oh that hit the Asian in me.
I'm sorry.
I hit the
Whenever I hear like
Oh,
something
it's-
very,
it's-
very large, my mother comes out and is like, it's good value.
Oh, it's good value. You get more pages per dollar. More pages
Oh
per
man,
dollar.
no,
It's like
I'm
you're good
feeling
at
it.
Costco.
Oh.
I'm so glad that's universal
Oh yeah. I mean
across
that's
everyone in this panel.
yeah. It's like best more pages per dollar. That's how it works. But anyways, people are here to watch us read Kara-Tur, The Eastern Realms, Volume 1. Last time, we were able to get through the cover, the table of contents, the first piece of art, and if you stuck around to the stream and you were here before we started recording, you'll notice that there was a lot of feline imagery that kind of pops up throughout this document. And we read the first page and 5 lines of the second page. It was a little
Progress.
rough, but we made some progress. We've worked really hard on this. Now, it's time for us to continue our read through. Now, Jacky, you had an update. You had actually told us this before, but about this sidebar text, the characters on the
Yes,
side.
what is it?
Tell the
So
story.
I had to consult with all of my family members I consulted my grandfather, my grandparents, my immediate family members. I even had to consult family members who are like actually professionally still working and writing in like Chinese law firms and whatever legal text. And there was some in New York. I had some in the West Coast in LA. I sent this to a lot of people, and what they all came to, the first response I got was, what is this supposed to be? So basically the side text doesn't actually have any actual meaning. It's all a bunch of characters, and actually about every few characters, it goes in a series of like 4 or 5 that are phonetically similar. They're just tonally different. And in Chinese language, there's usually like several different tones for the same phonetical sound. So from what it looked like, there were some that were going like the same for 4 or 5 times, but it didn't have any meaning. One of my aunts, who is a little bit more scholarly, thought that maybe it could have been something akin to old Chinese medicinal proverbs, but none of the characters made any sense at all. None of them formed actual words.
So this is literally
gibberish.
Like the 90s Chinese tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh God.
I know people with
every
bad.
page.
I know people with bad Chinese tattoos as well.
So do I.
Some of them are Asian.
I would not be the one who wants to have this tattooed on them. That's all I have to say.
I guess it just reminded me a little. I thought it might be like those, those like New Year's couplets that you see sometimes, like the red ones. I was thinking maybe, I don't know, but no, apparently it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe if we did decipher this properly, maybe it's some kind of like cryptographical thing, and like.
But if Jacky sent the text to a network of specialists,
this was an international operation.
Who just basically looked at it and were like, "What the actual fuck?" Like,
yeah, because I'll give some background, because my grandfather actually used to be a school teacher in China. So even he was like, what is this?
like, I mean, like, if that doesn't bring about an answer, I mean, also, I don't know why we're surprised.
Oh, I'm not. I
Yeah.
assumed it was nonsense.
Yeah, I kind of was just like, I don't think it means anything. I think it's just the aesthetic.
I mean, deep down, I really wanted it to be something like unintentionally bad. I really wanted it to be. I'm glad it isn't, but part of me was like, oh, but what if they just copied and pasted from a menu or something?
Oh my God.
But,
That would have been funny.
The worst part would probably be they actually went to like a bunch of Chinese restaurants and literally just took
the
a bunch of
pictures of the characters.
Yeah, they literally took all the takeout menus and then just started like cutting and putting them all together. It's like, oh, this looks cool together.
And it just looks like it looks like one of those like a murderer's letter with the different magazine letters, and they're just like sticking them on the page, and then they write "send to designer." Go.
But then like maybe someone in your family would have been like, but why is chicken repeated, like character for chicken repeated over and over again? Like, is this
yeah, it's true.
Well, a lot of the characters actually, so funny enough, a lot of the characters in here are not characters representative of like a word or an object or an idea. They're actually participles. So they're meant to be radicals. They're supposed to combine to form actually other words. Mm-hmm. So they can't stand alone. And when they're put in these combinations, a lot of them don't even form real words. Actually, I don't think
a whole bunch of it's just like when your connection's bad on the Zoom chat and you can't talk, that's it.
It's like an ipsum lorem, but like worse.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
I'm sorry.
We're starting off strong. We're starting off real strong. But let's get into the text that we can read. Sorry.
I mean,
that came off as way saltier than I anticipated it to be.
Put some shade on that.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm just gonna sprinkle some salt all over that wound. But anyways, we are on places of interest. Cliffs of Tanghai. A great black basalt cliff overlooking the Hangsu River near Taitun. The cliffs were inscribed by red lightning with the words "The Path of Heaven" in 440. The cliffs are considered to be the holiest place in all of Shaolin, as they are a living symbol of the existence of the celestial heaven. The inscriptions, 1 meter high, are carved along the outer face of the cliff and cannot be reached by any way short of flying. So I actually knew about this already, because actually somebody was like, hey, can you look over this, and paid me to look over a 4th edition character concept that they had based on this. And so I was like, I already knew about this, but I didn't realize it went all the way back into this part. I thought it was a newer thing. I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with this. I mean, like, structurally there's stuff I don't like here, but the fact that there's like giant, like red lightning inscribed characters on the side of a cliff, I think that's pretty dope. It's like it's like the Shaolin version of the Hollywood sign. And I get that they want to have some sort of religious beacon, so it makes sense. The thing that I don't like here is that they put in they say with the words of the path of heaven in 440. So they just kind of put in an arbitrary date without establishing any sort of timeline here. And you see that a lot when people write campaign settings and they try to make them seem like history books, but they're not.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like needless detail, because you didn't have to do that. I mean, this isn't offensive to me as an Asian. This is just offensive to me as like a former archaeologist. It's like, why are you putting a date there?
Yeah.
It's like saying like at the beginning of time in the year 1. Like that's just me being nitpicky. I don't like that sort of thing. I don't know if any of you had any other thoughts on the cliffs. They seem pretty.
Yeah, it seems sort of like analogous to like biblical stuff.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sign from heaven.
Yeah. I actually had a question about that, because this was something, this with dealing with Philippine mythology, we had to deal a lot with the idea of like celestial and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In Chinese mythology, or I guess in this area of Chinese mythology that this is supposed to be focused on, is there a concept of heaven?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty complicated too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one of us actually wrote an entire adventure in Unbreakable about that, and it ended up being super, super lengthy, Jacky.
What you're talking about?
But yeah, there is a very, very complicated concept of heaven, and the celestials and the gods and stories about heaven in Chinese culture. Very, very
Cool. Awesome.
extensive. I mean, there's the whole idea of the creation myth in Chinese culture is really interesting too, because it involves like serpents and this one goddess Nuwa who actually like literally holds up and mends the heavens. It's really cool. She's also dope. She's like half snake. It's pretty sick. Anyways, let's keep going. So we know that the cliffs are just like a religious symbol. It's pretty neat. I like I would honestly love to see this in art form, like with proper characters. But I think it's an interesting visual.
I'm just imagining what it would say though. Is it just like Bill and Ted, like be excellent to one another? Just carved in meteor big characters on the side of a cliff.
It says the cliffs were inscribed by red lightning with the words of the path of heaven. Yeah, like what are the words of the path of heaven?
What is
that
the
would
path
be
of
nice.
I think that would be cool to have. That's just a detail that I wish they would have put in here. But you know.
Yeah, I wish that they would have put that, because for now I'm just gonna sub in be excellent to one another until someone tells me otherwise.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's really what it is.
It's just.
It's much better than I was here.
Oh God.
Chad was a knob.
And Keanu is Asian, so
Keanu himself. Okay.
Keanu himself inscribed the words, "Be excellent," on a cliff. I would love to see Keanu Reeves play D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? I mean, we could maybe make. I don't know. I think we need like a few other connections, maybe, but we could try.
There are so many like.
Possible.
Imagine having like a round table of Asian celebrities playing D&D.
I mean,
Like-
Erika Ishii is putting together like a Dungeons and Democrats campaign, and Anthony Yang is in on it. So
Yeah.
like,
hmm
so like, I'm just saying it's possible.
So like, what if it was like you had like Keanu Reeves, Dave Bautista, Simu Liu, Michelle Yeoh,
Oh my god.
Man, I
And-
grew up to watching
and
Michelle
my
Yeoh as a kid.
and my wild card, Aquafina, all playing D&D together,
Aquafina would be so much fun to play with.
right? I think that'd be
she
awesome.
would be so much fun.
Yeah.
just all the chaos.
Randall
I-
Park would also be a lot of fun.
Oh, Randall Park would be, and Ali Wong. There's so many,
Mhm.
but like for me, my must-haves, like Keanu Reeves got to be there, and I think Dave Bautista would be super good. I play D&D.
hmm
Also, Dave Bautista is just super cool. But anyways, let's move on. Fortress of Kwai. The Fortress of Kwai. Sorry, I don't know why I said it that way.
The text makes you.
Sorry. The Fortress of Kwai is located at the center of the old imperial capital of Sifeng. It is a massive construction of stone blocks, each block far too heavy for any 100 men to lift. What?
So that's why they got 101 men each block.
Okay, we'll go back to that. We'll go back to that one.
Okay.
We can archaeology that one.
We should archaeology that one because they're doing a thing here that they consistently do in Asian products. But we'll finish the paragraph because I want us to beat our personal best, which is a page and 5 lines. Let's do a page and 6 lines.
Let's go.
We could do it.
Legend has it that the second Emperor Qin of the Hou dynasty employed a family. Oh, come on, Makenzie.
I'm just sorry. The names sometimes get me.
Employed a family of giants from the wilds of Koryo to raise the blocks of the fortress. At his death, the emperor had the giants seal his body within the fortress with a great stone block. It is said that any man who can lift the block will find the treasure of the second emperor buried with him, as well as the magic ring he used to control his unwilling giant servants. Okay, let's talk about that one.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there. First of all, the first bit does the thing that like so many of these products are guilty of, and it's taking something that would have occurred in the West or would have occurred in Europe and just making it so exotic. It's like, yes, the people drank water. But
What?
it says the people consumed the liquid of the streams and the lakes and the ocean. It's just like, oh God, right? The people captured the rain and consumed it to nourish their bodies. They drank water. This one is like they used massive stone blocks to build a fortress. That's how it reads in the beginning. Far too heavy for any 100 men to lift. They're just say giant stone blocks.
You could just apply this to Stonehenge.
Yeah, Stonehenge.
It's just Stonehenge.
Or you know what? Why are you getting people to lift them when you could use engineering?
And that's the thing, like
Cough, the pyramids of Egypt.
all of
Yeah.
these like big structures are things that are like mind blowing. How did they do it? It's like there's so many ways to do it.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
we need to stop mystifying some of this. Like, yeah.
Also, we are playing in a fantasy game where magic exists, so I don't understand why they have to put so much emphasis on physical labor when everything's solved with magic.
Oh,
Like
boy.
it's 100 men couldn't lift this one block.
And it is one
Like,
child is like, I will help you, and it's just like. But here's the thing, like what about like a really good one is the Easter Island heads.
Yeah.
Have you seen the working hypotheses on how they moved them?
Yeah.
They
Well,
walked them. They
no.
walked.
You're not asking me.
No, I'm not asking you, Emma. I know you know this, but they walked them, like walked. So they literally.
Oh, just like they just like did the thing like
no,
I
they
do.
they had there are these big stone structures and they wrapped cordage around them and they literally pulled from side to side and they literally walked them.
Wobble. Yeah, so they wobbled
Yeah.
them all the way
Like
through.
when you're moving your fridge out of place.
Yeah,
you
just
know,
like
Yeah.
when I'm moving
Yeah.
my
fidget
furniture.
side to side.
Yeah.
So yes, like people could not have lifted the moai heads, but they wobbled them, like
Which is pretty valid.
which is super
I'm
valid.
also getting like major Aowen vibes. It's like 100 men couldn't lift us, but
I
one
am no
woman.
man.
I am no man.
Punch the rock.
Yeah.
Oh. We joke, but that's gonna probably come up in this campaign setting.
Oh,
I'm
good
sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anything is possible
Yeah.
It's
when you don't care about a lot of things.
Oh,
But yeah.
I just got Mulan vibes, and I'm just like, oh, it made me angry.
Oh,
sorry.
I feel that.
I won't continue talking about Mulan anymore. Anyways, then we kind of go into this idea that they took, and if we refer back to our map, Koryo is, and just on the stream, Koryo is in the top right of the map, and then Shoulong is this massive, based on like the colors, desert region here, which is odd. I'll share the map in our Zoom chat for everyone, but the colors are odd.
I have concern.
I'm going to ask my cartographer friend about that one. But they basically say that they literally took a family of giants, controlled them against their will with a magical ring, and forced them to do slave labor.
Well, which is funny because they start the sentence with employed and then
Employed.
end with unwilling. And
Unwilling. I think
Hmm.
they were basically like, how do we, they went on Google, or I guess not at the time, they opened up their thesaurus and they looked up a synonym for got to work. And they picked employed.
That, as a former HR person, familiar with labor law. Like,
So somebody in the chat, I have to say, I have to call this out because this is so great. Dealer Umbra in our Twitch chat just said the map of Shoulong is aggressively beige.
Yeah, it is. It's really
Very
big.
accurate.
I'm not even
like
joking.
an old Navy khaki commercial.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Sorry, I had to call that one out because that was excellent. But yeah, this whole Fortress of Kwai is really weird because A, it doesn't make sense, and B, it's kind of icky.
It's also
Yeah.
encouraging tomb raiding and
Yeah, that's
looting.
what I was gonna say.
It's
Yeah.
like, just
Mhm.
try it.
Also, it's just like, it is said that any man who can lift the block will find the treasure. Why don't you just blow it up?
Again, we're playing in a game with magic.
or use magic
So yeah, I was like, or gunpowder.
or gunpowder.
Yeah,
Like,
which this Asian thing should have plenty of.
I mean, there was a really famous, and I say this with air quotes for people listening to the audio, archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann who did just
no.
that. I know Emma knows, but Makenzie, Jacky, or Michelle, do you know who Heinrich Schliemann is?
No.
Sounds familiar.
He is an
I am-
archaeologist
yeah.
who basically claimed to find the city of Troy
Yes.
in Hisarlik in Turkey, and in order to get to it, it was a tell, so it was like a big hill formed from successive occupations. He used dynamite and blew his way down to where he thought it would be, and he just blew up entire cities to get there. So yeah,
Wow.
Heinrich Schliemann, and could have
Yep.
done that to get to the Emperor's treasure here. But I
But
think it's they're this is a kind of way you see campaign settings kind of throwing in plot hooks and in place of real meaningful world building. It's like, yes, the Emperor had the giants put his body here, and it is said that the second Emperor has a magic ring that is stored within the tomb. And if you want a ring to control unwilling giants, you should break into this tomb. But that doesn't tell us more about the fortress. Like, what was the fortress used for? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
A fortress has a purpose. Why was it there?
yeah, and right now this fortress is just a tomb.
So really, it should just be the mausoleum.
Yeah, of the
of
second
Kauai.
Emperor Qin.
Yeah.
So
I yeah. No
yeah,
words.
it's also like the Emperor Qin of the Ho dynasty. Part of me is like, what if you just did the Emperor of the Qin dynasty and just done that?
Yeah, just left it there.
Just left it there.
Yeah.
It's cool.
But anyways, this is a
I don't-
naming thing.
Yeah. I mean, I am interested, like, this is Yay Giants? They exist?
The giants exist in Chinese mythology. They are a thing.
Oh no, they are a thing, but it's
Yeah.
like this is our first time we've seen it in this
Oh yeah,
world.
it's like, all of a sudden
Right,
it's like giants. Right now
Oh,
we
by the way,
Yay.
giants.
by the
the
way, but it's
Giants.
also it's by the way in the where is it? In the wilds of fantasy Korea, there are just giants
Yep.
walking around that you can
I
enslave,
still-
and they have families, which is a big thing here.
I'm still not over the fact that fantasy Korea is just
It's just choreo.
choreo.
It's just choreo.
Yeah.
That gets
Yeah.
me every time. Every
Yep.
single time.
Also, most of it is just a mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, this
Well,
I
clearly-
love Korea.
The map
and
is literally-
one mountain.
Yeah. The map for that area is literally just mountains.
it's a mountain, and I mean
Well,
like.
it's mountains and some giants living on them.
And I
presumably.
think the giants live in the wilds, so they probably
Well,
live
yeah.
in the green parts. But I mean, the
Yeah.
map itself has so many problems. I get the mountains part of Kozakura because I mean, like Japan, it's a volcanic island chain, so it makes sense. But with this level of detail, it looks unplayable because it's like, oh yes, everything is a mountain, and if you were reading this, you'd be like, oh yeah, you can't farm here; it's all stone. Because that's how it looks. It's also like tiny.
It's really tiny. Like they they only use like one part of actual Korea.
Yeah, I don't know what
I
they're
like
doing
that
here.
they laid like they took a map of real life, like of that actual section of the world, and then just scribbled the actual outlines with jagged lines.
Oh,
to be
yeah.
like, and now
Yeah.
it's slightly different.
I think just the choice
Mhm.
of colors. Like, yes, there's the aggressively beige Shaolin, but then there's also sections that are like white, and I know they don't mean those to be icy, because in the mountains you actually see ice.
Yeah. I think those are deserts.
But is it the beige or the desert? That's the thing.
There's like the ton? No.
Is
See,
it
it's weird, there's-
flood because it's around rivers, isn't it? So is that floodlands?
Maybe I'm.
Well, they
gonna-
have marshland depictions because there's like the
Oh my
little
God.
gray greenish patches with the little bumps are supposed to be the marshlands.
I'm gonna
so-
look for a map. Okay, so I've just found a. Where did this go?
Also, there's a lot of problems with the font, but one of them is just that the T looks like a C. So in the bottom left corner of the map, there is something that's petan, and it looks like pecan.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Yes, it does.
Welcome to Pecan.
Pecan.
Oh man.
Welcome to Pecan.
Oh, let's not forget, like, I'm gonna assume they're fantasy analog to Tibet, and they just called it Tabot.
They did.
Oh.
They did.
Yeah, it's kind of nestled in the mountains on the west.
That's very similar to that women's brand clothing brand Talbot's.
Talbots.
Talbot.
Yeah.
Talbot's, yeah.
Yep.
Go there, find some business casual.
There's a lot wrong with this map. We should look at the map on a different day when we find a really nice high quality version, because we did a whole
I
episode.
found an interactive map.
Can you send the
What?
link?
Oh,
Yes, I can.
That was said with such a
Oh.
glutton for punishment. Similarly.
like
It's in the Zoom chat.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There are even some areas labeled with names.
Oh wow.
I think this was done by a fan who was French.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay.
Because
Okay.
I've used this site before for Forgotten Realms before. Because they do other interactive Forgotten Realms.
Oh yeah,
maps.
some of this is in French.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Huh.
huh.
I'm wondering where the island kingdoms are supposed to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking for.
for.
There's Kozakura, there's Wa, there's Talmaruk.
Yeah, but the island kingdoms don't have a name. They're just the island kingdoms. Woo.
Who
Yeah.
are they?
Well, even on the big map, I don't think they're on here on this interactive map. Like it never got added in because even in the island kingdoms are kind of like an appendix for the map itself because because the full map I believe has like it's kind of like how in the U.S. map you have Alaska and Hawaii just randomly shoved in on a corner because they're far away, and so that's what they did with the island kingdoms.
I went on the Forgotten Realms wiki, and there isn't even a picture.
No.
Yay.
Oh. Yeah.
That's just
Here,
that's
I found a little bit of the outer islands.
God.
Yeah, there is at
Even
the very
in
bottom.
fantasies, the Filipinos are left out. Dang it.
It's supposed to be in the southeast. That's what it says. It's a small group of
Yeah.
islands in the far southeast of Kara-Tur. I'm assuming that Bawa is a part of that. It's on the bottom right of the map.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch
Yeah.
of islands over here with like nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of just like another example of just how people treat Southeast Asia in fiction.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yay!
But-
I love it.
But let's move on. So we've done the Cliffs of Tanghai, which is not that bad. The Fortress of Kwai is it should have just been renamed the Mausoleum of Kwai, and you could have made the Emperor a villain. But now it's the Impossible Palace of the Silver Domes.
Impossible.
Impossible.
Are we gonna do this entire read through in like movie trailer announcer voice now?
Sure, I could do that. The Impossible Palace of the Silver Domes is a legendary palace which appears at random times all over the empire. It is
Solid.
most often seen in times of great strife within Shaolin. Many parties have attempted to enter its 8 great domed sections, only to disappear forever. Okay. The Impossible Palace is, as I, Mei Lung. Oh, now they bring in the I forgot that this is written by somebody for Volo.
It's all one giant quote.
It's
Yeah.
all for Elminster. It's all written for
sorry,
Elminster.
not
Ah,
Volo.
for Elminster.
Elminster. That's right.
Because Volo would make it worse.
Oh, Volo. As I, Mei Lung, have mentioned earlier, my home. What? Oh, okay.
He lives
that's-
in Impossible
he-
Palace.
Apparently he does.
Apparently he does.
Where did he
Yeah.
mention it earlier, though?
That's what
go
I
back-
want to know.
I'm wondering if
I'm
like
just checking
maybe
in the beginning.
I'm wondering like maybe if it isn't there, maybe it got edited out. Perhaps
It
like
might have been edited out because it's not in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things where somebody was assigned a section and it's like, here, write this. And post editing, cross editing stuff got cut out and got left out and forgot about.
I mean, to be fair, like I feel that one. That's a big writing a book in general mood.
Mhm.
Just some things slip through, no matter how many times you read it.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah.
And even if they're just one page after the other.
Yeah. So
it does undermine the narrator's ability to recollect things just a little bit though.
no,
which is-
then
Oh, great. We got an Asian Volo.
no,
Oh.
the narrator is
Oh, no.
the narrator is an Asian Time Lord, and this is the TARDIS.
Yeah,
100%
I'm
that.
okay with that.
Let's see. As a rule, I do not take kindly to strangers invading my home for any reason, and have been known to eat most parties of adventurers who do so. I
Hold
moved
up.
because
Wait.
I think Mei Lung is a dragon.
Okay, because
Yeah.
Yes, so.
Because they say that your guide is the great dragon lord Mei Lung.
okay, totally.
So
forgot.
it wasn't
That
a
was a
title. It was
title.
literally.
I thought it was
like
a
a
title, but
humanoid.
they're literally a dragon.
He's a straight up dragon.
Okay.
Okay.
So this isn't like Doctor Who meets Hannibal. It's just
Oh God!
This is like there's a reason they're never seen again when they go into this.
In all of time and space. Yeah. Okay, so Mei Lung confirmed as a dragon. I guess they're going off of Long, which is literally the Chinese word for dragon. Sure.
And his name literally means beautiful dragon? Okay.
Yeah. Which, sure.
Well, I
Oh.
mean, he's a handsome boy.
Okay. Okay. Um,
And he eats people.
I move the palace magically from time to time to avoid this very thing. Most of the time, it is located at the bottom of a river or in a remote location. Bottom of a river.
That's so specific.
Don't come after me, but if you do.
But if you do, I'll be at the bottom of a river or somewhere remote. I also should not have probably put this into the text I'm writing for Elminster, but
Like
Elminster's
the first paragraph and the second clash. Like the first one's
Yeah.
like an outside factual narrator, or just like, here's what it is, and then it's like, oh hey, I'm Mei Long. It's
Yeah,
not
it's like-
actually random.
Don't come
Doesn't
here,
show up
or
at
else
times
I'll-
astray.
If you come here, I'll nom you. Don't come here.
Yeah.
I feel
It's
like this is
it's not
one of those
mysterious.
bits where that entire paragraph should have been like, a sidebar text. Like, when
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like how Volo's is done, it's done the same way where it's like, that should have been a sidebar.
Yeah, like honestly, I thought like that, like how they do the red text or the blue text in the L5R core rulebook. Honestly, it
Yeah.
might have been even cool. It's like, oh, I probably shouldn't have written this for you, Elminster. Now you know where I live. Be careful, or else I'll eat you.
Don't come
Yeah,
over.
But that would
Come over.
require personality to this narrator, and they don't have personality other than being Asian.
That's true. That's
And
true.
Also,
potentially a
Mei Long
dragon.
is now portrayed to be inhospitable because he doesn't like visitors.
because
Yeah.
because the foreign visitors don't take their shoes off.
Well,
I'm
it
waiting
kind of-
until they write about that.
It also creates another like hook, right? Where it's like, come find the 8-domed palace where Mei Lung lives and try not to get eaten.
But here's the thing. If you read the rest
Are
of
the
it,
domes in
Yeah.
concentric circles? Is that the problem?
well, that's how Mei
What so
Lung.
they don't notice.
Well, that's how Mei Lung cooks the people who come here because they burst into flame. Anyways, here's the thing that's wrong with this, other than the fact that it makes no sense and is really stupid. There is one time when the palace is most accessible, and that is when a great danger faces the Empire. While I am prohibited from directly taking a hand in the affairs of men, I am allowed to make available information, weapons, or spells to those brave enough to enter my doors. I deal with each transgressor in a different way. Some I ask riddles, others I send great monsters against. Occasionally, as in the case of the hero Wo Mei, I merely talk to them, discussing the classic works and current events. Until I have divined the true nature of the one I am dealing with, each of my tests is different. But be warned, the superior man knows when he faces certain death, and it is certain death to disturb my privacy without reason. And that's it. That is the impossible palace.
So much of it doesn't make sense.
I mean, yeah, it like so.
But also, like, if Mei Long is supposed to be like the one recording everything and knows everything essentially, what is happening? Because it sounds like he's just in his castle playing tricks on people.
Well, here's the thing: it's like you know what, like I'm prohibited from taking a hand in the affairs of men, but if people come to me, I'll give you dope magic weapons and spells.
Yeah.
It's like,
not
I'm
supposed
Merlin,
to.
but Asian.
I'm Asian Merlin.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I was gonna say, if it seems like a wizard in their tower, just being like, I can't do anything, but if you show up, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll give
I
you
can't
riddles.
do anything until the plot allows me to.
Or I like you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You seem cool. Have a spell.
yeah, or it's just like, oh, answer me these questions 3. Air the other side he sees. It's just 100% that.
Yep.
Or it's just like, you enter the doors. That's a dope looking axe. Boss fight. And then I'll give you stuff. Like, what else is here? What makes the palace impossible other than the fact that it magically teleports?
Yeah, like if it was literally the TARDIS where it's like in TARDIS lore where there's just infinite rooms spanning and interconnected where you can't have any sense of direction ever, it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Or if, like, the Impossible Palace was literally like a mega dungeon that just teleports all over
Right.
the place for people to discover. But right now, it's literally just like, for some reason, there's a palace, and a dragon lives there alone with a collection of magical weapons and spells to give to people who find
Are
them.
brave. Yeah, for good reason.
And
Gotta
yeah.
be good reason.
This is just like hey, if you're the GM and your players are lost in the desert and they've got an epic quest, maybe they'll find the Impossible Palace. But it suffers from the same problems that the Fortress of Kwai does, in that it doesn't tell you anything about the palace itself and what it does. It just gives you a really boring plot hook.
Yeah.
Or not even a plot hook, an encounter.
Yeah, it serves as like a Deus Ex Machina sort of like plot point where like exactly, like if you're, oh gosh, like this particular evil is ravaging the land, what can we do? Like, oh, the Silver Palace, we must answer all these tricksy questions. It's like the inverse of Danny the Street, in the sense that like it can appear anywhere, and it can be like a little random, but it's just inhospitable and really terrible. And I understand why they left it a little bit vague, because I think that they want the GM to sort of supply their own ideas of what could happen inside this domed palace, but it seems like a lot of wasted opportunity. Like I could see this maybe like being developed into something more interesting.
Like, also, what does this look like? It's just silver domes. What does that mean? And like, if it's this like grand palace for a large dragon. Oh, now in my head it was like, oh, it's Eddie Murphy. But what if? But how does this appear though? Because it's like, right. Oh, it's like in remote locations, there's silver domes, and it's just like everybody from afar can see these silver domes, and now there's like all this political turmoil and strife and war, and they're like, oh, silver domes. We all know where that is, the Impossible Palace. Let's go there. Like,
but also think of the footprint it leaves every time it shows up somewhere.
Right. Right.
I mean, like it could do a Danny the Street thing where it just appears, like anyone doesn't. Oh, just in case if everyone doesn't know what Danny the Street is, it's an anthropomorphized street from DC Comics that, just can appear anywhere and sort of integrates itself seamlessly into places. So themselves integrate into places. Sorry, on pronouns, but it could. I don't think that that's particularly too far fetched. I think it's just like really lazy writing.
If it wasn't, what if it wasn't a like a palace and it was a shop? Or
yes,
right?
Yeah,
like that might make more sense, because that's literally what this is. You get information, weapons, spells, and then maybe you get eaten by the shopkeeper.
Yeah, which is also very valid.
And what if Mei Lung just appears throughout Shoulong? Like, sure, you want to have this character that appears everywhere. Why would they have like this really, really extra palace? What if it was a shop that it just appears in little towns, or a traveling merchant, right? Who looks different every single time, but has some sort of twinkle in their eyes, or that has this certain hair, or wears a certain pendant or something, right? And then maybe over time the character's like, wait, I've seen that before. Who is that? What is that pendant? Or what is that brooch? What is that thing you have in your hair? But no, it's just this like
whole ass palace
made of silver domes.
Yep. We find out later it's all concentric circles, and that's why we're all doomed.
Yeah,
that's how it erases its footprint. Its footprint looks like the cursed map, and every time it teleports, it's like, oh, this can't exist. Poof.
But it's sort of, I think that's one of the weaknesses as to why this particular concept is so poorly executed, because it's trying to be two things at once, right? It's trying to be both like a place where you can go and get information and whatnot, but it's also supposed to be like this trial, like that you're supposed to go through, and it appears at certain times. There's not, it sort of undermines its own mystery in a weird way. It's just, I think it focused on like either being just a labyrinthine place that shows up sometimes, like a random rift in Diablo or something like that.
Yeah.
Or just a mysterious shop. I think that would be much more well, like efficiently organized, like and defined as a concept, as opposed to like something that's trying to be too much of several things.
It's an either or sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder if they were like, oh, Impossible Palace, we'll just rip off the Forbidden City. But I'm still waiting to see what Michelle, your face. I'm just waiting to see what the capital's going to be because we haven't even got there yet. It's just like places of
Nope.
interest, like
Yeah.
because we have Kara-Tur, which is definitely not the capital. It's a swamp city. We have
Oh,
Kwai
again,
land,
the naming,
which is
it kills me every time.
yeah, and the Kwai land is just like you can't go there because there's just monsters there, and Pinchao is just like
Nerd City. Yeah.
It's
nerd
Kumon
city.
Center.
It's Kumon. And then,
Yeah.
Kumon and Boba.
so we have like so we
No, it does seem pretty great.
right? It's like we have like Swamp City, Bone Pile City, Kumon, Hollywood Hills, and this tomb, and then a palace that may or may not be there. Don't go there. Where do the people live?
Nowhere, apparently.
You
Now
gotta
we
be
have
spread out, or else that palace might just show up on top of your house.
that's it too.
Yep.
I mean, they also just don't talk a lot about like living in this area. They don't really talk about like environment or climate or lifestyle other than like this is a swamp city. This city is dead. And that's like that doesn't really portray a semblance of life or existence outside of an outsider coming in. And that's a problem, and that points to a big problem in like Orientalist things where things don't exist until someone discovers it.
Yeah, and it's also just not how you build a world. Like, what do the people do? What do the people believe in? Like, how would you structure this? Like, in their case, they're like, it is I, narrator. I'm actually a dragon. You'll find out on the next page. Here are some things. Surprise!
Yeah.
Here are some things that I think are really cool, and it reads like a GM's notebook rather than
Yeah.
an actual guide to a world, a living, breathing world.
Yeah, and the thing is, like the faith, like the religions and faith thing, that's like an entirely different section in this chapter for Sulong, and they have sections for commerce as well. And why did they put history in the far end of it? I don't know why.
Oh, okay, cool. We're gonna get to some history at some point.
So again, this
Don't be that excited.
This
Let
is
me
a
have
structure
dreams,
issue.
Jacky, please.
Dream of, a good campaign setting set in Asia. Oh wait, Sina Una exists.
To be fair, it's not all of Asia. It's specifically the Philippines.
It's true, and that's how it should. Honestly, do you think that's how it should be? Do you want to have I feel like everybody always asks is like one of the main questions I get asked is, Daniel, would you remake Kara-Tur? And every single time I say no. Right? There's a lot of baggage there. There's a lot of baggage. Like if you remake this, people will expect the cliffs of Tanghai to be there, the fortress of Kwai to be there. Right? But I mean reworked, but still. That you still have to deal with the legacy of this. On top of that, you have to deal with the expectation that there will be elements of Chinese culture, Japanese culture, Korean culture, the cultures of Southeast Asia, as this book says, right? And doing something that's, specific to maybe a historical time period, or a particular region like the Philippines, or just China, or Japan, or Korea, seems much more easier to do right. That's a big thing. And a lot of people fail to understand how cultures interact with one another and how to portray cultural interaction. And they do that really poorly. I don't think I've ever read a book that's done that really well. But anyways, we're on the Temple of Saigai.
Was that Shy Guy's cousin?
Yeah.
Or a whole lot of side
Saigai. Just hold up. Size.
Saigai.
Size.
I just sorry, I'm just a guy who sighs. The Temple of Saigai is located deep within the mountain forest of UI. It's a really weird fantasy apostrophe.
Apostrophes.
I feel like one of you said this last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantasy apostrophe usage just littered everywhere.
I am.
It's too much.
Yeah, okay. The mountain forest of UI near the city of Taichan, which would have been great if they actually told us about Taichan.
Right?
Yeah, it's like here's a reference point that you actually have no context for.
I'm just gonna quickly, you know what? I'm gonna do Tai Chan.
I don't know if it's in the interactive map.
Tai
I didn't.
Tai Chan isn't mentioned until page 13 of the PDF, and it's a tiny little note. And it just says it's in the UI province, and it says Tai Chan, a small, heavily defended garrison town, has maintained a fierce independence from the bureaucracy for the past 20 years. And then it goes into the Temple of Saigai. It's only mentioned twice, right here in this apparently place of great interest, and then in a little footnote, basically.
I don't think that's interesting then.
No, it's not. Yeah. No, it's not. And look, the temple is of grammar here. The temple is of great stone blocks and is roughly squared. Its surfaces are covered with strange inscriptions in characters unknown to all but Wu Zhen. Its inner walls are covered with carvings of bizarre creatures who resemble something halfway between men and beasts. The temple has been here as long as anyone can recall, and is described in Tabotan. What is Tabotan?
I think that's
Tabat.
fantasy Tibetan.
Oh yeah, but I'm
It's
saying
Tabbats.
but I'm saying is like they haven't mentioned what fantasy Tibet is
Abbot.
here.
Yeah.
Have they mentioned what Wu Zhen are? I forget.
No,
if
but
Not yet.
they mentioned Wu Zhen though in the Oriental Adventures Handbook. So
I see.
I mean, it's safe to assume that you should have read both. They're making that assumption, so I'll give them that.
Okay.
Okay.
They're a character class. They're magic users. And is described in Tabotan records that go back as far as 8,000 years. That's it. And then if we go to page 13, they don't really say much more on it. They say the Temple of Saigai, a massive palace of worship built by unknown peoples over 8,000 years ago, still dominates the icy high pass. It has been long deserted. The entire pass is believed the den of some evil horror. So those two pieces together are what we have right now.
That just sounds so interesting.
Honestly, the thing I'm stuck on is that if you read the section starting from the temple is of great stone blocks, and ends is like has been here as long as anyone can recall, and you take out the reference to Wu Zhen, that could describe like Daedalus's labyrinth.
Yeah.
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 It's but they do it again in that way of, oh, it's so exotic, there's creatures that are halfway between man and beast, you know, like
I mean, it's here's the thing though. If they had looked into any sort of anything in Chinese culture, you would know that like Chinese people had there was a lot of knowledge or writing about half person, half animal creatures, right? And that's the thing. Here they do the same. They make the same mistake as the Fortress of Kwai, and they're like, great stone blocks, roughly squared.
wow.
Wow.
What other? You just described it's a block. What other shape could it possibly be?
It's like roughly squared. It's like sure. It's like maybe square, maybe less rectangular. And then it's like
What? It's a parallelogram?
its surfaces are covered with strange inscriptions and characters unknown to all but Wu Zhen. Here's the thing. This thing has existed for 8,000 years. Nobody has thought to go and look into this. Nobody has thought to do some research. It's just like, oh, strange.
Yeah, it's
sure.
not, yeah.
Maybe people can't read it, but it's like, hey, that's just the Wu Zhen writing.
It almost has like a weird Lovecraftian sort of like weird like air to it in the sense of like they're roughly squared. It just reminds me of like non-Euclidean geometry.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. This
And
lumpy
everyone's like,
temple, we don't know what's going on.
but also just like,
Aliens
Lumpy
built it.
temple.
Yeah.
But that's the
like-
thing too.
yeah. But
The
it's
whole
also just
thing.
like Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I cut you off first, so I'm gonna stop.
Go ahead, Michelle.
But it's also just like the unknown writings. I'm just like, oh my god, this is just Lovecraft. Like in the sense of just like it's unknown and it's mysterious. Who knows what it could read? And then some like Wu Jen comes along, is like, yeah, let's just be excellent to one another once again.
No, even worse, it's literally like in a very intricate bao recipe, and that's
Yes!
really what it is.
Okay, but that would be super cool though.
That would be so rad.
I
It's
would
like
love
the
an
best
8,000-year-old recipe.
Hey, Emma, remember those remember those ancient noodles in that Neolithic site?
Yeah,
In China?
the millet noodles.
The millet noodles?
Yeah.
So this happened in real life, everyone. There was actually an archaeological site, and I forget where it is. I forget what it's called. It's in China. And there was like a mudslide that destroyed a house. And the family had actually been eating dinner. And they literally stacked their bowls. And when the archaeologists were pulling the bowls apart, one of the bowls had ancient noodles in it.
I'm just imagining now, like, someone getting mad at that kid for not finishing all
Yeah.
the noodles in their bowl.
It's like, how dare you waste food?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to find it, and then I'll
Yeah.
share it.
There's lots of fun instances of like prepared foods being found preserved well enough that you can recreate the recipe. So the one from where I work, the Jomon period in Japan, they have cookies. Well, they call them cookies for cute reasons, but they're essentially like walnut paste, deer blood, a bit of meat, and I think some other things, but they're like little biscuits that were cooked on a fire and preserved somewhere. And you can find like reconstruction recipes for them if you feel like dealing with some blood cookies.
Yeah, there's some really excellent YouTube channels like Tasting History that actually goes into some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting. It's also like sometimes like there's
Well,
some.
I spent like 2 months watching Victorian cooking like channels. Like they actually did traditional Victorian techniques and everything. And so
Do you watch Mrs. Crocombe?
yes, I do.
Oh, God.
The gentle shade.
Oh, so
Some
much shade.
people
It's so
steam puddings in their turbot kettle.
it's the best kind of shade you ever want in a cooking show.
Well, I guess I know what I'm doing.
The turbot episode is good.
So
Yes,
I'm gonna as producer, I'm gonna pull us back in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Alright.
thank
We
you.
have to
Sorry.
finish more than a page in 5 lines.
Yeah.
Come on, we can do it. We got 40 minutes. We can do it.
So we've established that like of the 3 places of interest we've read, so there are 4 places of interest. That's it. In all of Shaolin, they have listed 4 places of interest. 3 of them are garbage.
There's not a lot of information.
And there's
for
not a lot.
most of them.
No.
I'm not interested in really any of them except for the cliffs, because I think there's some cool stuff you could do with the cliffs.
Yeah.
But like
And Shaolin is the largest country in the entire map.
it's aggressively beige.
Yeah.
That's what our chat said.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
But anyways, let's go to monasteries and temples of the Shaolin priesthood, because yeah,
Sweet.
That first half of a sentence.
yeah, let's do this. The way of the monk is a narrow way, for he must follow the path. No matter how narrow the path, I'm struggling. It may take many branchings before reaching its destination. This is the way of it among the Shaolin.
I feel like
How
having
many
a
more
drinking-
times must they say way in this
Yeah,
entire
I was just saying. So
section?
it's good that we're not making this a drinking game because that would have been like 5 shots.
Oh my god. While the priests of the way are usually wandering Shugenja, except they say Shukenja,
Shukenja.
known as Dangki or Wu Zhen, aloof in their mysteries and strong in power, the backbone of faith is the priesthood of the Shaolin. These monks and temple warriors wander the lands doing good or gather together in great temples and monasteries. That's all they do? They wander around, do good deeds, and they just gather in groups.
Be mysterious.
Be mysterious.
Oh look, it's the Asian equivalent of the Harpers.
God.
Oh.
Except they don't sing apparently.
Yeah. Also, yeah.
I mean, maybe this is like the social, like the community, like community good part of communities, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they're like, this is where the community center is. It's actually just
The
the temple.
community center.
It's like called a midwife. They go out and they're just like, distributing good vibes and general awesomeness amongst people. I don't know. I'm trying.
Here's the thing.
I'm
It's just
trying.
like the way of the monk is a narrow way.
How narrow is this way?
What is that? What is that? What are you trying to say there? And for he must follow the path. Why does it have to be described as narrow?
I think it has to do with the fact because even in AD&D,
trying to be metaphorical.
monks. I know,
Yeah.
but I think they're trying to tie it in mechanically because even in AD&D, monks were mechanically required to be lawful in some alignment form.
Yeah.
And so to them, it's like you must be lawful. So it's a very construed path that you must uphold. It's like that's not how that works.
But then they say it may take many branchings before reaching the destination. So it's like you've got this like one way, and then it just goes.
But then it comes back.
And then it comes back.
And it's always narrow.
And it's always narrow.
mitosis.
So every branch is like literally very narrow all the time.
Like the roots
And
of
mysterious.
a carrot. I don't know.
Oh God.
What?
What kind of carrots are you eating?
So you know what you like?
Vancouver.
Sorry, so you know what you like? Maybe it's not a carrot. I'm just thinking. You know when you like sprout a veggie inside a glass
Yeah.
after and it's got the tiny little roots.
Yes.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They're like
Okay.
seedlings.
The seedlings. And then they go into this whole thing about the priests. They're like, yes, Shugenja and Wujen. And we've already talked about Shugenja and Wujen in our Oriental Adventures read through, so I don't want us to dwell on that because they are like combining like weird Chinese mysticism with like very niche Japanese mysticism as well and religion into one. We've already talked about that at length, so I don't want us to get caught on that. But here they're just saying like these priests, they're temple warriors and monks, and they go out and do good deeds or gather together in great temples and monasteries. And that's just like what a waste.
They're either alone or they're all together.
They're either
And apparently when they're together, they don't do anything.
They don't
other
do
than
anything.
Just, like, cuddle.
They just hang
they
out.
just gather.
they just gather. It's just like
So.
they just go like, hey Jeff, hey Chad, hey
How's
Brad,
it going? Oh,
What's up, Kelsey?
mysterious.
and then
Hey,
they're just like
Claude.
hanging out.
I mean, yeah, because it's like, what do they do when they gather together? Like, there has to be something. They can't. It's worse than just like it's worse than like a meeting. Like half of the meetings are just like, hey, and it's just everyone just.
Yeah, it's dumb. But they're trying to make them sound different, mysterious, and exotic to the reader.
I think it's the highlight of this section. Just everything trying to sound different and mysterious and exotic, but they're not.
But they're not.
They're
Each
not.
temple is a place of worship, open to common people, and also a place where relics of the immortals and sages are displayed. Temples are usually located within a city of some size. Yeah.
What's
Cool.
okay?
Most are. This is the same thing as the Oriental Adventures chapter that says like things happen in Kara-Tur. People are born. Weather happens. The sun shines. But then they say like temples are found within a city of some size. They go to great lengths to very poorly exoticize Asia here. Most are dedicated to one of the 9 immortals, although other sages and deities may also be included jointly in this dedication. The Patron Immortal is represented by a central statue, which is ringed with small naves where lesser patrons are depicted. Temples are staffed with about 20 to 40 priests, as well as being guarded by a small number of sohei, up to 30, who protect the temple from desecration and theft. So Emma, in D&D, like the sohei are basically supposed to be warrior monk guardians of temples.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a lot of people.
In towns of some size. in cities of
Yeah.
some size.
That's a lot.
Although-
that's actually
yeah.
a large
But
temple.
that's
if
very
you really
big.
wanna know.
If you think about like
Yeah.
a church in
That's
your
a
city,
lot.
so there's like
A lot.
at
Up to 70 people living in one place.
yeah.
That's a lot.
It's
And
like a
I will-
monastery.
I
Yeah.
will say this is the first time they've given concrete numbers to pretty much anything.
Yep.
So I'll give
That's
it that.
true.
I will give it
And-
that.
But the numbers also
And
don't
I
make
do
sense.
like that they're not all mysteriously placed on the highest peak of every mountain or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like hidden by
It's-
mists. Ooh, go find them.
behind the
Yeah, one of-
waterfall.
Yeah, one of the things that is that I'm catching on to, like in this entire thing so far, we're only on page 6, but it's like there's this fog of Orientalist mysticism where it's like we can never talk about anything specific. Well, we rarely ever talk about anything specific because if we make it specific, it's no longer exotic. So it's like
It loses the mystery because now we've named it, we codified it. It's now
Yeah.
a thing.
so it's now it like Kara-Tur just can only exist in this fog of exotic, spicy Orientalism. That's what it is. Yeah.
This is basically what happens when you're like a first year undergraduate student and you have like a word count you have to hit and you just like start throwing in nonsense.
Daniel, no, stop.
I'm
Ow,
sorry, I'm just
it hurts.
attacking everyone.
It hurts. It hurts.
That's what this is. A monastery incorporates a temple as part of its design, but also has living quarters for a larger number of monks in Sohei, as many as 2,000 or 3,000 at the greatest ones.
Isn't that just the city itself? Almost.
I'll give them. I think they're trying to go for grand scale, so I'll give them that. Monasteries are usually located in there we go, Emma. In remote areas, as these
Wait,
orders.
Wait,
So temples are
Okay.
different. So they
Temples
say-
and monasteries, yeah.
So they say they're different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Monasteries are usually located in remote areas, as these orders desire peace and isolation to better study their particular branch of the path. An order of the Shaolin faith may have many temples or monasteries scattered in a number of cities. Rarely are there 2 or more temples of the exact same sect within the same city. There is too much chance of a schism eventually splitting the 2 temples apart.
Why?
huh?
What?
Huh?
Okay.
What?
I
I think they try to do like a whole like Asians can't get along, Asian infighting. But like
yeah. I mean, I guess also they're just also kind of in a way saying don't have more than one temple in a city.
but why would they fight though? That's the thing.
It feels very Roman Catholic.
yeah, it feels very
Yeah.
early Roman Catholic where it's like us here, no one else, no pagan beliefs.
But these are all of the same belief though.
Yeah.
But they worship a different patron, so therefore we don't like them.
But
It's,
the
a,
thing
it's
is
a
like
different narrow branching path of the same path.
I guess. Yeah, it's one of the little spindly paths.
You're 2 branches over. I don't like you.
That's weird.
It does feel a lot like the Protestant schisms almost a little bit,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
when the
Yeah.
Catholic Church started like branching off, like even in the earliest Catholic Church when you got the Orthodox versus the Roman, like,
Yeah.
but even they managed to be okay
Coexist?
exist
Yeah.
in the same cities. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
this is just like I don't want to make any assumptions about the authors because I've been accused of doing that. I think this is perhaps projecting their own experiences into an Asian setting. But anyways, no matter the order, the life of a monk is much the same. Members of the order Makenzie, I'm so sorry.
It's fine. We'll get through. We gotta get through this page.
Members of the because we're gonna get to the Shaolin monk section next.
No.
Members of the order rise 1 hour before dawn, going to the central temple to chant and pray to the Patron Immortal. At dawn, the monks begin the first of their 2 kung fu training sessions. This one concentrating on stretching and exercises. After this session, they will have breakfast, then move on to morning activities, chants, meditation, scribe work, farming, or crafts. The midday meal marks the end of this work and the start of the afternoon kung fu practices. These are with weapons, movement exercises, kata, which is from Japan. And sparring between monks, kumite, which is also from Japan. After the practice, one of the older monks gives a sermon reading texts from the monastery's sutra library. Following this time, this is a time of meditation. At dusk, there are the evening prayers with an hour of meditation afterwards and the last meal of the day. This meal is often a place where younger novices can ask questions of the masters and discuss the events of the day. At day's end, the monk returns to his meditation cell to sleep.
Oh.
That was a lot.
Ooh.
Uh,
Well, hey, we've officially hit 1 page and 6 lines.
We've
We
now
did it.
We
personal
did it!
We
best.
did it.
Oh.
Whoa, that
So-
was something.
I have to say that for this section, that the amount of engrossed detail of a daily routine for the life of a monk, I just have to go, you know, I get that you're trying to make them seem more like, oh look, they're normal people. They do things, but they also do kung fu. What?
No, it's not that they do kung fu. It's literally their days are. It's like morning kung fu practice, which is like a million things. Afternoon kung fu practice. I was like, you didn't have to call it kung
With-
fu practice.
Katas,
Yeah.
which are,
Yeah.
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 not,
Yeah,
not,
kata and kumite. It's one of those bits that I think those got carried over from Oriental Adventures.
But also just like 80s martial arts pop culture.
Yep.
that is fair.
Yep. That's
Yep.
Like-
this is all just a training montage.
Yeah, like-
that whole day.
Yeah.
It's
But then they put so much detail into this, yet we get like the fortress of Kwai is made of big stone blocks. And there's a dead guy in there with a magic ring that can control
Which-
giants.
And also, apparently, all you have to do to get the ring is just lift up this giant piece of rock.
And it's just the ring of controlling Korean giants. That's all. That's what it says. It's really.
Oh no! When you word it like that, it's so much worse.
It's so dumb though. It's really dumb. And then they have this like monastery, and like the first bit is just like, oh, this is kind of like Roman Catholic. Some of this is kind of nonsensical because it's like they do good deeds and gather in groups. And then it's like they do kung fu training, and then they do this. They meditate here. Then they do this. Then they meditate here. And
But then what? But it's kind of like paradoxical here because it says like the life of the monk is much the same. They do kung fu, so on and so forth. And then, but it's like, but then before they were just saying like they wander the lands doing good, or they gather.
I guess that's priests versus monks.
Oh, I guess so. Maybe.
I guess because
Yeah.
they've said that there are Sohei, Shugenja, and Wujen.
Okay.
But then they've talked about how the Shugenja live in solitude in Oriental Adventures. They live away from, I think it's either the Shugenja or the Wujen, live in solitude in nature because they're those like, ooh, very elusive Asian mystics. But then they have these like, there are several thousand of them in these monasteries, or there are like up to 70 of them in a temple. And then, of course, at the end of the day, they sleep in meditation cells. What the hell is a meditation cell?
Ugh.
That definitely. I understand why they would. I'm guessing from like an outside perspective, they're like, oh, a cell because they want to impress upon the reader that their lives are Spartan and like it's only about the path in kung fu. So they don't really need a real bedroom. They just get a cell to meditate in.
I'm just looking at, I just Googled meditation cell, half expecting to find something on the Goop. But
Isn't referring to it as a cell a very Christian thing?
is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
That
is.
is.
Okay, so here we go.
It
Here we
is.
go. So I found something. I'm assuming, so it looks like I have to do a little bit more digging. So there is a meditation cell. This is a thing. So, well, according to Wikipedia, there is a Adi Badri, which is in India, is an archaeological site. It's a temple, and inside it, they actually have a thing called meditation cells.
Right, but I don't think those are the same as where people stay to sleep.
But I don't
Sleep.
think that is the same
Yeah.
because these look
And-
like very
Yeah.
small
Also,
chambers.
who gave it the name meditation cells? Was it the people who actually used them, or was it the people who quote unquote discovered them?
I'm looking that up right now.
because it's when
Mhm.
people like discover things, they're going to there's always going to be that colonialist, imperialist, Western lens if an outsider discovers something, so they're going to call it a cell even if that wasn't actually what it was called, just because it's like, oh, it's the closest approximation to what we know.
It's just
and
a place to
we're the
meditate. I don't think you
experts.
sleep here.
Yeah,
though.
well, I mean, the
Mhm.
best you can probably say would be like a meditation chamber or like a meditation like room. Like a
Yeah.
room is as generic as you can get without trying to make it specific. And even then, like they don't usually I mean, you can meditate in your own room, but I don't see why it has to be specifically there's nothing else amenity wise. Because it feels like as if like it feels like they made them specifically like we're the monks who gave away our worldly possessions and do good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm trying to see if there is something, and I'm not getting a clear answer. It seems as though they were inspired by, living a Spartan religious life, and having like a chamber.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an odd choice of wording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There's D&D, AD&D really suffers from their selective use of great detail.
Yeah, it seems so random. Like all of a sudden we get from like a 5-10,000 foot view to like daily life
Daily life.
In
of a monk.
explicit detail
Yeah.
every
Yes.
hour
Yeah.
almost.
It's a really jarring tonal shift.
Yep.
I mean, I think, again, I don't want to like assume the intentions of the reader, but it definitely, someone mentioned it sounds like a training montage in chat, and I could
Mhm.
definitely see this just being a section where the author, it's not self-insert, I guess is the closest approximation to what I'm trying to say, where it's like it is an approximation of what the author, coming from a Western experience, wants to experience and thinks is super cool. So when they go into detail, they're like, of course it's going to have like double kung fu practice. Because that's what, if they wanted to experience this, they would want to do that. They're more committed to fulfilling that Orientalist fantasy than they are actually doing anything accurately.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just mysterious palaces, deadly fortresses, temples, cliffs with heavenly writing, and kung fu masters. Let's go to, let's see how far we can get. Let's go to because I kind of want us to read the Strong Claw Monastery.
We'll get there.
Okay.
But
I can
also-
assert that we will get there.
Are they going to explain why temples can't exist in the same town?
Yeah,
Nope.
I mean,
Yeah, they have a
Well, they
section called
might.
Temple conflicts.
Yeah, right
Temple
now,
conflicts.
the myriad of directions along the path makes for a lively dissension and argument between the priesthoods. Oftentimes, the many orders of the Shaolin have raised up great temple armies of Sohei and monks to destroy other orders considered to be heretics. Although the emperor opposes this, temple battles continue even today as rival orders clash on the streets of the capital and other places of the empire. There are more than 200 sects or orders, all professing to be the true way to follow the path of enlightenment. Only perhaps 24 are recognized as approved by the Department of Celestial Supervision. Here then, I present a small sample of the most outstanding ones, so that you too will be enlightened. Oh, fuck me.
so here's what's really troubling. Again, kind of touching on the kind of one of the four touchstone points that you raised at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the idea of like we're violent, like
We're violent.
we've all got to be violent, and it's like this is a religious like religion is considered to be like one of the core parts of a lot of civilizations, and it's like even in our religion, we got to be.
We can't get along. We're
We
fighting
can't
in
get
the
along.
streets.
We're so
Yeah.
and it's like it literally reads like a West Side Story rumble.
Well, it's a
Like, you've
dojo
got these
battle. It's a dojo battle.
It's a dojo battle. It's an 80s dojo battle.
It's got some Crusades vibes going on too.
It's like-
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna. That's what I was.
It's a
Yeah.
mix of like different pop culture tropes. They have like they have the crusades going on here. They have all these different sects of a religion. They have the stereotype that Asians are violent. They have the dojo battles, and then they have the Department of Celestial Supervision, which I get that they're playing off of the fact that, Chinese historically, and I guess now, Chinese civilization has always been highly bureaucratic, and as are like the heavens, like the gods and the divine in China are also very bureaucratic. So I get it. I don't slight them for the Department of Celestial Supervision. It just sounds really silly.
It
does.
sounds very silly.
It's just like walk up and you're like, you got your badge, just like, hold up, Department of Celestial
Yeah.
Supervision.
Or like you have to write up a proposal to take to the department
Yeah.
to get
it's
approved as an official or recognized.
Oh, it's like
path.
we would like it's like here's our sect approval form. It's like, did you fill it out did you do it in triplicate? I only did it in duplicates. You're gonna need to do it again.
It's like you've
it's
got
like
you
15
have the
pages.
wrong paperwork filled out. Hold up. Yeah,
It's like, no, you got the wrong here. It's like you gave me scroll form 5A. Here's scroll 6B. This is the one you're supposed to file.
yeah.
It's something that would be like super cool in like a different context, but in this context, it's just kind of why?
Yeah. Because
I don't-
like Michelle
oh.
said, it's vibing off the whole thing where it's like Asians can't get along. We're violent.
The other thing that also, and this is a question that I have for folks, if you know, but is this an actual thing in like East Asian monastic culture? Because to my knowledge, this is not a thing. Like I don't recall in the times I've studied this that there were like rumbles between Confucian scholars and say like followers of the I don't know. It's very.
I mean, there are certainly like violence between sects certainly has to be a thing. Like people have fundamental disagreements, right?
That's true.
But I think the problem here is saying that like they're just constantly fighting.
Yeah, and it's just sort of weird because it's like almost like a weird. The way that it's portraying this conflict as so central is almost like revisionist weird history. Like in my head, as someone who's studied like Catholic and Christian history, like this reads way more to me like Protestant rumbles,
Yeah.
like European Protestant rumbles than like whatever, like than anything I've ever researched in East Asian like religious history. So yeah,
I'd be like, I think it would also be silly to say that they exist peacefully. They coexist peacefully. Like, of
Yeah.
course, there's going to be
Right.
disagreement, but it's
Yeah.
like I said earlier, it's the framing it as like they are constantly fighting.
Right.
I think that's the problem
I think
here.
that's the thing. Yeah. The fact that it's like this is a core aspect of the priesthood of that this is something that is constantly happening. And it goes on to say like, there's many great battles. They amass large armies and the emperor can't do anything. I mean, it's like this very much sound like, for Michelle's point, it's like it sounds very much like Catholicism and the Protestant sects with the wars, because it's not like the Pope could do anything when the Protestants go to war with each other.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, when you say wars, but then they say they where is it? They say that they clash in the streets.
Clash.
It's
Yeah,
like they're
that's-
having little, and then Michelle's like they're having little rumbles. It's not like they're actually having full-on skirmishes and wars. They're having street fights.
yeah. This is the Jets and the Sharks. Like this
Yeah.
is just it's but kung fu.
But kung fu.
Oh boy.
This section is very much. I can't speak for 80s movies as I wasn't around for most of them, but it sounds a lot like 80 movies montages.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
A lot of them.
It's just like
Really
it's
does.
like, oh, warriors come out to play.
Mm-hmm.
Snapping in the
Yeah, or it's like the
Snapping.
Jets. Yeah, it just plays off of really dated tropes.
It
Yeah,
also
they-
reminds it, and because they're all sex, it's starting to make me think, because my dad grew up in New York in the 70s when there was a lot of like Chinese gangs and everything. It's making me think back about the warring gangs, and so now I'm starting to see like feeling the same kind of atmosphere where it's like it's all about like there's just an inherent sense of violence that just percolates all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because that was a big thing during the late 70s and the 80s, was always the lens of, oh, look, there's more Asian violence happening. Yay.
Yay!
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a big thing in San Francisco as well. Like
the
there was
Tong
a
Wars in the
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
But anyways, let's go to the Strong Claw Monastery. Kya. The Strong Claw Monastery
No,
is located
no,
near
no.
is located near Yenqing, Ma Yuan in Ma Yuan province. Okay, let's look at the map.
Oh God.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Um,
If it's even labeled.
So here's this how like this is very unreadable to me because there's a place near Tabet called Arakin, but I read that as Anakin.
Is it on high ground?
It's actually in a valley. So
So no.
So it works
No.
perfectly. It works. It is Anakin.
Perfectly.
It is
It
Anakin.
is.
Ma Yuan.
Above
Here we
it,
go.
above-
Ma Yuan is kind of near the sort of tan-colored desert.
That's so specific.
That's
It's not as if there
more
wasn't.
specific.
It's like in the the north near the
Yeah.
S for the Shoulong label. There are the Rendai Hills and it's near the Dragon Wall.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Dragon Wall.
You gotta
And
have
oh,
a
there it
dragon
is.
wall.
You gotta have a dragon wall, and then not to mention in the desert, there's they call it the route of spices.
Spicy.
Ooh.
Oh god. It's called the Spice Road in the desert
Yeah,
part.
they literally call it the Spice Road. Oh god.
There's the horse plains, as of course you're supposed to
Right.
The one plane of horses.
have. The Katakoro. There's a lot to unpack here with the map. But anyways, we know where they are now. They are near Yenqing, which is in the Ma Yuan province, and Yenqing is actually this red dot here near the H for Shoulong. I mean,
Yep.
this tells me nothing. If I was like reading this map, I'd be like, okay, great, they're there. Thanks.
Yeah. Apparently it's near an intersection of several rivers, and partially surrounded by marshes
Yeah.
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 or foothills.
But it's like
One of the
partially,
two.
the sense of scale here is just so
Yeah.
off.
The sense of scale just makes you go,
Anyways,
Let's get to the next sentence.
we know where they are
'cause-
now. It is one of the oldest monastic orders in the empire and is considered a great honor to be accepted here, despite the monastery's relative isolation from the rest of the world. The patron immortal is Fa Quan, but Qi Shi is also worshipped here. Again, we don't have any information on who these are. Oh, my eyes drifted, and then I saw Cobra School of Kung Fu.
yeah, you read ahead. You
I read ahead.
It, yeah.
Oh,
I already was waiting for it anyway.
Oh, Cobra Kai.
No, no.
Oh god. Anyways, sorry.
Oh.
The life of the monks is a hard one, and applicants are tested both physically and spiritually before they are admitted. The order accepts both male and female novices, although the two sexes live in separate quarters and must pledge a vow of chastity during their tenure with the order. Located on a high, cold plain. Okay. The buildings of the monastery are cave-like, with few windows to prevent heat from escaping. The walls of the enclave are high and thick, but keep out the bitter winds and fell creatures that wander the steppes at night. Wait, they said steps and okay. Anyways,
I got lost with just the words high cold plain.
I mean, like you can have a high plane, I guess, if you're.
I'm imagining like,
makes
like
sense.
a butte, like a
Yeah.
butte.
Yeah.
like a butte.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The land of Ma Yuan is well known for its huge beasts, monsters, and spirits, although not as feared as the dead and cursed blades of Chukei. Okay.
Okay, Chukei.
Yeah. Okay. So we've established the geography makes sense. It's just like it's a little much. During the summer months, the monks of the order raise sorghum and wheat. which they store in underground caves below the monastery buildings. In the bitter winters, they retreat into the monastery's vast and echoing halls to study the writings of the path and to say the 1,000 chants required in the teachings of the order. It is said by monks that should the cycle of chants be broken, the full 1,000 not said each day, the world will end in fire. In all seasons, the monks of the order study the techniques of bear-style kung fu, the style of great strength and slashing movements favored by the fierce peoples of the western marshes. So they basically were like, yes, they do this kung fu style, and then everyone in the western marshes does bear-style kung fu. I'm thinking of like Kung Fu Hustle, when everybody just knows kung fu.
Yes, everyone just goes kung fu.
Yeah.
Like,
Everyone knows
is
kung fu.
fighting.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Strong Claw Order is famed for its mastery of this technique, and many have journeyed to the remote monastery to learn its secrets. The Sohei of the order are also famed for their skill with the Tetsubo, a Japanese weapon, or iron club. Both Sohei and monks have served with distinction alongside the Emperor's army of the Western Marshes, battling the fierce horse barbarians. The monks particularly enjoy plucking riders from horseback and wrestling horses to the ground with their great strength. Travelers will find a solid welcome here, though, if not a great deal of comfort. Straw mats on stone platforms are the extent of sleeping arrangements. The fare is strictly vegetarian, except on feast days, when chicken and fish are permitted. Visitors to the order are advised to not interfere too much with the monks' duties and to follow the teachings of the path while they are there! ! The current abbot of the monastery is Ta Ping Su, large feet. The youngest abbot in the history of the order. Ta Ping Su was selected at the age of 28 by the previous abbot. The old master of the order lay on his deathbed. The young abbot is extremely strong both physically and spiritually, and perhaps a little conservative and suspicious of the outside world.
Just for audio purposes, I just want everyone to know that as we were reading through that, everyone's faces just slowly descended into the one emoji that's just closed eyes, closed mouth.
I'm actually kind of really offended by, okay, so we haven't had any kind of like parenthetical translations of anyone's names or places or things like that, and suddenly large feet. Why? There is literally, I feel like there is literally no other reason to do this except to like poke fun at this person who is the head of a monastic order. Like, yeah, why would you do that? Except to just sort of, again,
also nobody would
trivialize this.
Nobody would name their child that.
No. I could get it if that was like a nickname,
but this is the head.
Yeah.
This is the abbot.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, when you become an abbot of any religious order, whether it be Asian or not, you're usually given a better honorific name
than large feet. Also, this is like they're poking fun at a character, and if you're an outsider, you're meant like they're trying to set the game up for an interaction where it's just like, oh yes, this is our head abbot, large feet, and the players go, oh. It's weird. It's in poor taste,
to say the least.
To say the least, and I mean just the way they described it. Like, yeah, they're on this high cold plain, but like, what are their structures made out of? Are they? They say they're like cave-like, but they don't live within. Are they like huts that are like caves? What does this look like? What does the monastery look like? We don't know. It really doesn't tell us anything. In this section, they have said that like, yes, Asians have weird names. Asians have weird translated names. These Asians live in very Spartan conditions. Oh, and everyone knows Kung Fu. They said that all in this one section.
And for untold reasons, they like to beat up the horse riding people.
Yeah, they like to wrestle.
They
horses.
wrestle horse
They're-
riding people.
They're horse wrestling.
Yeah.
What do you want to do for fun today? Let's go wrestle.
Let's
some
go
horses.
wrestle
let's
some
go
horses.
wrestle some horses. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tip some cows and wrestle some horses. You know.
It's just and then like, oh yes, you could have anyone here, but you all have to take a vow of chastity during your tenure with the order.
Welcoming but suspicious,
Yeah.
but not for the horse riders because
Nope.
for some reason F them.
Let's just-
Wrestle to the ground. Tackle the horses.
Do you think it's just like
it's where you just get
Well-
that tension out.
well, there's like a plot hook, and it's just like an adventurer is coming through on their horseback, and all of a sudden, strong claw! They just grab them.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I mean, like on the map for there's a road that goes through a mountain pass that's
Yeah.
from the west, right? So I guess this is like if you're coming from the other side of the Forgotten Realms, if you're coming in from the parts of like the middle areas and moving inward, that would be like this would probably be your first main place or big city that you would see. I guess air quotes big city because it's not really a city. And it's like this is the first thing you would probably really see that's a form of civilization.
yeah,
With
they're
also
just these like, oh god.
It's like, hey, party members, but while you're going through that entire area where it's full of horse riding barbarians, then you have to cross through these mountain passes, and then you have to cross through these marshes, and then you'll eventually find this monastery in the middle of almost nowhere on a high cold plain.
And the people of the Western Marshes. Let's look for the Western Marshes. Where is that?
It's marches.
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 Where are the Western Marches?
I
On
think
this map.
I don't think they labeled it. I think it's just like the marshland that's there, like right where where it's like after was it Kazari is supposed to be.
Yeah. So it's just like everybody here knows Kung Fu. So it's literally like
Apparently.
if you're an outsider and you're coming to China for the first time, you literally see Shaolin monks who wrestle horses, are vegetarians, and know Kung Fu.
They crammed every single trope into one.
Yeah.
It's all here.
It's all
Also-
here.
This is asked as a D&D nerd question. Is
Yeah.
the Western Marches the same as like what defines a West Marches game? Are those the same? Or did they just name two areas West March E?
Let's look this up. Ooh. I don't actually know.
Hmm.
I'm not 100% sure.
We got a month to look it up.
We got a month to look it up.
We got a month to look it up.
But anyways, we have new personal best. We've gone way over what we did last time.
1.5 pages.
1.5
Page and a
pages.
half. Plus
Look-
map stuff.
Plus map stuff.
And
Yeah,
then
plus map
a
stuff.
slight detour into Cobra style.
Next, we're gonna do the Order of Silence, the Temple of the Cobra style.
Oh boy.
I
we've
love how we
we've
all
done
did that.
bear style, strong claw, but they use
It's like
but then they
slashing
use-
movements.
but then they use
Yeah.
tetsubo, which is a bludgeoning weapon.
Bludgeoning weapon. Yeah. It's like
What do you don't you ever see bears with clubs?
It's just
I'm
That's
sure
when-
there's a
that's
gif
when
of like a
Smokey
bear
gets-
wielding clubs.
it's
That's when Smokey gets really angry.
Yeah.
picks up
That's
two
Tetsubo.
sticks and just like, "Oh,
Put on Forest first.
okay, boo boo, let's go get our clubs. Just like,
That's terrifying.
Oh,
stop.
good lord.
My home device just went off when I said boo boo. But anyways,
I will comment though there
Yeah.
is a YouTube video of a bear with nunchucks.
I,
oh,
Oh, wow.
okay.
oh no.
I'll look at
Oh,
that
no.
off stream. That being said, we have reached our 2-hour mark. I want to thank all of you for joining me on this journey into the hilarity that is Kara-Tur, like the greatest comedy ever written. God, it's so bad. It's so bad. But thank you so much for joining me. I have all of your socials on screen, but one last time, if you want, let's go Let's go Makenzie, Michelle, Emma, and then Jacky. Oh, let's go Let's go Makenzie, Michelle, Jacky, and then Emma. What have you got going on? What do you want to share? Let's start with you, Makenzie.
Hi, so I'm Makenzie DeArmas. You can find me over on Twitter at MackenzieLaneDA. I'm an independent tabletop content creator, so I've done work with D&D Beyond, MCDM, Mage Hand Press, but most significantly, as we're recording this, the campaign setting that I'm the lead writer for, The Islands of Sina Una, is releasing in a couple days. It's releasing on October 5th. You can still get the pre-order over on the Deck of Many. The PDF is coming. The print books will be coming in a couple months. It is an entire campaign setting based around pre-colonial Filipino mythology, and it's super detailed. I think it's like 300 pages, so it's going to be a big book, and I'm super excited to share it. And that's what I'll be talking about. So you can go follow me over on Twitter as I yell very excitedly about that.
Dope. Let's go to Michelle. Michelle, what have you got going on?
Hey, so I'm going to be continuing doing my comedy Magic Lore podcast, The Lore Goifs. If you ever want to hear us snark about Magic the Gathering, and in particular the stories that come along with it, let us know and go and listen. And I also will be creating pottery, as I usually am. And I also occasionally write for Card Kingdom. I'm going to be hopefully writing an article soon about like revenge and one of the new main characters, Nahiri on Zendikar. So you can catch me there, but mostly on Twitter, where I try to be positive in the face of a crumbling world. And that would be at Kilnfeen Potter. So you can find me there.
And I've also linked the your other show into the your comedy podcast into our Twitch chat as well.
Thank you very much.
No problemo. Okay, Jacky.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jacky. I am a freelance tabletop writer. So I've worked for places like Paizo, Gallant Knight Games, a couple of other small publishers. But I am actually also one of the I'm one of the project leads for Unbreakable. Which is our all Asian mythology, Asian folklore, written by Asian writers and illustrated by Asian artists. And it is a wonderful book featuring 10 adventures in here. And we are actually working on we're actually processing all of our pitches that we received for Volume 2+. I say that because it's a lot. It's not going to fit in one volume. It won't. So you'll probably hear more about me if you follow me on Twitter, because we'll probably have to make an announcement sooner or later, probably by next week. And I'll be sending out emails by next week. And I'll be busy for a long time.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Emma, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter, although I don't post a whole lot. I go by Stargeologist, and I am an archaeologist. So I don't have a whole lot to say for TTRPG stuff, although I do have a little more experience now in doing cultural consultation and sensitivity reading. But mostly, yeah, just doing archaeology stuff, trying to finish my dissertation, preparing to teach.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And of course, you could find me on Twitter at Daniel H. Kwan. Asians Represent is on pretty much every platform at AZNS Represent. If you're listening to this on the podcast and you want to get a visual of what we were looking at, because we did talk about a little bit of the map and that, what was it? What was the beige thing we said? I forgot. Aggressively beige map. You could watch this at youtube.com/AZNS Represent. We stream this live the first Saturday of every month at twitch.tv/AZNS Rep. So you could always catch that there. Emma, you're on another stream that we have every Friday. We're reading through the Legend of the Five Rings 5th edition core rulebook. Yeah. So we've got a lot going on. That being said, Jacky, Makenzie, Emma, Michelle, thank you for joining me once again for our second stream, our improved speed as we read through. Yes! Kara-Tur at the Eastern
That means
Realms.
next month we have to work for 2 pages.
Yeah, so next month is Order of Silence, Order of the Nimble Hunter, the White Crane Temple, the Order of the Dragon Monastery, and then we get into government.
Oh, buddy.
We'll learn more about the Department of Celestial something or other, Celestial Supervision.
I don't know if we're going to get to that one yet. It's going to be a while. I mean,
we'll learn about all the Office of Positions that exist.
Oh, look, and
I-
they even
I-
have the Forbidden City in this too. I scrolled ahead to page 9, and the Forbidden City is in this.
You found it.
We found it.
You
I
found
found
it.
it. Yay.
That's gonna be great. But anyways, thank you folks for tuning in. We appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.